back, everybody. So today we're going to have the first tasting of my used yeast 2. Now, a little bit ago, I did put out version 1 of this, and I did talk about it. This beer has scared me since I saw it. So the goal of this, these are small batches, so 1.25 gallons going into the Mr. Beer Carboys. And what I wanted to see was how long we could keep using the yeast in that carboy. Now, I didn't think it was going to go long. I was actually thinking make 4 batches. That way, by the time that yeast really built up, it would be too much. But after the first batch, so the very first batch, brand new yeast, was my rye IPA 1. And so when I bottled that beer, I made another beer that same day, poured it right on that yeast cake. And then when the version 1 of this was done, I went to bottle it, and I noticed that the first bottle, it was very, very cloudy, like it was pulling in that yeast and that trub. I was like, okay, that's higher than I thought. But by the time I got done with the third bottle, it was clear. So I made this batch, and before I poured it in, I actually tilted the fermenter to dump some stuff out. Because usually when I do it on the stove, I can see the bottom, and I usually try and keep all the hot particles and everything out of there. And so everything it didn't start fermenting until 24 hours, which, yeah, that's pretty good. But when I did batch 1, it was taking off in 3 hours. It was already going. So I knew something might have been up. And then when I went to bottle it, I did have like white bubbles that weren't very clear on top of it. But I tasted it. It tasted fine. It smelled fine, so I bottled it. So here it is. We're going to see if this thing's any good. So for the grain bill, 2 pounds of 2-row, then 4 ounces of caramel malt. That's all I used. And at that time I didn't know, but I believe in the used yeast 1, there was a kind of spice character to that, and I didn't use any spice malts or anything, so I do think it was from the rye malt and the flaked rye that brought that spiciness to it. So for the boil, 1 hour boil, first wort hop, I did put in 0.1 ounce of Warrior, so when you're starting to draw off your liquid from your mash out, you would throw in your hops. 0.25 ounces of Centennial at 10 minutes, 0.25 ounces of Amarillo at the end of boil. Now, this does not use any dry hops, as those hops could kill the yeast, and I wanted to try and keep them alive as long as I could, so no dry hopping in this. So this was bottled on 5/14, and this is the one that I came up with when I was upstairs, and I wrote it on a piece of paper, and I believe I threw the piece of paper away. I don't know what the ABV on this one is. So, oh well. Beer is beer. Let's go ahead and open it. Good hiss, good smoke. My guess is it's somewhere around 6-7% ABV. Good color. Still scaring me. Even though everything looks good, I'm still scared of drinking this, smelling it. We do have an off-white, almost translucent head. It's almost coming up orange in there. Small and medium bubbles, about a half a finger of head. Color, pretty clear. It does have some chill haze. I can see the light box and the bell sticker in there. Some bubbles coming up, light bubble in there. For the color, I would say golden color. Looks just like the picture is showing. Let's smell. Kind of a hoppy, dank, citrus spice in there. Some sweetness, almost like it didn't ferment all the way. Yeah, I'm definitely getting some dankness in there, like dank hop. But some sweetness, again, almost like it didn't ferment all the way. And I could almost see that because it took so long for it to get going. Then some citrus. But that spice is up there too. Yeah, I think it smells okay. The smells are very, very faint. Nothing in your face, but we didn't dry hop, so I could see that. But on the other side, I think we should get a little bit more than what we're getting. Even some toasted malt coming out a little bit more. But let's go ahead and taste. Malt sweetness, lightly toasted, some citrus, bitterness in the back. Aftertaste is more of a sweet citrus, like a lightly toasted malt sweet citrus in there. I would say it didn't ferment all the way. From the amount of sweetness that I'm getting, but because I don't know the ABV or any of the numbers, because that's my fault, we'll never know. Maybe, maybe it's the Amarillo that I'm picking up. Almost a fruity in the back now, like a fruity citrus, but with bitterness in there. I wish there was more malt. Maybe the sweetness is coming from the caramel because it's a little darker. Now I'm wishing I would have kept that yeast. It did not look good though. Um, Maybe I'll have to try this again. I still get some spice in there though. Um, and I don't think I put. Yeah. Yeah, so on March 28th, 2020, this yeast was used in the rye IPA. Then on April 10th, I used it in the used yeast one. Um, I don't taste any off flavors in it, so I still think that yeast was good. I'm not sure what was going on with the top. What I thought happened was before I put this batch in the fermenter and I tipped it over, that because it wasn't 100% clean, that yeast, when I rolled it, that bottom yeast didn't come off, the top came off. It might have collected something from the top of the fermenter, and then when I rolled it back down, obviously stayed in there. That's what I was thinking, because I've never had like white bubbles like that had. Like, I've seen pictures, but I've always went with, does it taste good, smell good at brewing, and if it does, bottle it, find out after that. And for me, these are small batches, so I'm only doing 3 bottles, so it's not like I'm losing 5 gallons of beer or anything. And I think that was a good choice at this. There's not really a lot in here. Not a beer, not a not a beer that I would drink all the time, just because it's sweeter than anything, and then you get that kick of bitterness. Um, I just want more from it. I don't think somebody new getting into home brewing would like this, because sweetness, bitterness, a little bit of hop profile, and that's it. I would expect more out of the beer. But Yeah, no off flavors. If anything, now it's very smooth. The carbonation level's not high enough, and that citrus and now like fruity spice bitterness mix is fine. But yeah, I want some more backbone, like malt backbone or something to stand out. It seems a little flat right now. So I would not brew it again, but we might have to make some more beers on a older yeast keg. So if you enjoyed this video, check some more videos out over here. And until next time, happy brewing.